Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of Between the Spreadsheets. Today, my guest is Ches Moulton, who is a certified stress management counselor. Since you came on, Ches, I've been feeling a bit stressed. I think I saw my reflection and my hair. I'm having a bad hair day. It's given me a lot of stress. Can you help me?
I can.
You see, I've also noticed that I'm normally way up there with stress. Like lots of small businesses, stress is got to be right up there with the number one problem. But I have noticed that my stress levels have come down a bit since my daughter's gone to university. So, so, tell me about yourself. How did you get into stress management?
Well, I've been interested in and involved in counseling, coaching, most of my adult life in one form or another. Back when I was a mere child, when I was about 19, which was back in the, shall we say, in the late 70s,
I thought you were going to say the 90s.
mid late 70s, to be kind. I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia, in Canada. So what I did is I was attracted to a program that was put out by the Attorney General of Nova Scotia, their office. They were looking for people to sign up to become volunteer probation officers. And so I went through the course. I liked it. I passed, and I became a volunteer probation officer for a couple of years. And so I did that for a while, just on the side. Fast forward into the late 80s, the early 90s. I people that do what I do, a lot of them normally get into this because they had been looking for answers for themselves.
Is that like the meaning of life, the universe?
And I am one of those people. So when I started to have questions about, how things worked and why I was the way I am and how I fit in and didn't fit in, all the questions that we have as we grow to become adults, the people that were mentoring and coaching me, they started to tell me that, that I should be on this side of the desk. And I thought, yeah, you tell that to everybody. You're going to tell that to the next guy that's coming in behind me. This is flattery.
Yeah.
But after a while, I realized that maybe they were right, and that I did get this in a kind of a way that was different. So I went out and I did some lay counseling for a while, and I went out and got some certification. My background is psychotherapy. I also am certified hypnotherapist. I do coaching as well. What I recognized over the years, and I've been doing this now for about 27 years in one form or another in different parts of the world. What I recognized over the years was that people were always coming in, and the crux, the foundation of what they were telling me was that they had stress. And some people would mention, they come in and say, well, Ches, I'm all stressed out. I got stress. And they tell me about all what it's all about. Some people come in, they tell me all about their truck and their dog and their in-laws and their boss and their lawnmower and all the rest of the things that they have going on in their life. They wouldn't always say the word, but basically they were saying they had stress. So when I started to examine this, I realized that it seemed to me that stress started to categorize itself. There seemed to be 4 high frequency categories in which stress resided. That being communication, motivation, relationships, and planning. So when I started to realize that it was a lot about stress, I decided, well, maybe I should go out and get myself, certified as a stress management consultant, so I can, lay claim to that. And that's exactly what I did, and that's how I am today.
Yeah, I think people massively underestimate what stress can do to you. And I know there's been a lot more recognition of stress these days, but I've seen clients. I mean, even as an accountant, we see it in people all the time. But I've had clients in where they won't even open a bank statement. They won't look at their balance at the bank in case it's dropped to a certain degree, and then they've got to take action. And I see this thing all the time. I've had people give me letters from HMRC because they won't even open them, and it's amazing how it stops people from getting anywhere. I mean, sometimes we look at facts and figures as accountants to measure how our business is going, and that tells you where people are, but it doesn't really tell you where they are, because we've got to look at the reasons why people are acting the way they do. And it's funny, sometimes it's just that little bit of stress that's caused by doing that. I mean, you know, the fear of success, where you don't want to do something because if you win, it brings something to the door that is not going to be very pleasant. That stress. So how do you get over things like that, or is that going too deep for today's conversation?
No. That's a fair statement. So the short answer is, my top tip would be, if you want to learn how to organize your stress, then figure out what it is you can control and what you can't. Now, having said that, there are two types of stress. You're talking about negative stress. There's positive stress,
Yeah.
and there's negative stress. When we talk about, now I'll get back to the positive stress in a moment because it's really important. But negative stress, there are four types of negative stress. Anticipatory, so people get stressed out anticipating the future. Encounter, people become stressed, experience stress because they think about the encounter they're going to have in the future. Situation stress, because they think about a situation they're going to be in, or the one they are in currently. And then time management. So what you've described, people not being afraid to open the letter, that would be situation and encounter, and maybe a little bit of anticipation in terms of what might be in the contents of that letter. So stress levels, are peaking at that point in time. You've probably got 3 out of the 4 negative stressors happening all at once.
Yeah. You mentioned positive stress.
Yeah, well, positive stress. So people use the word stress as a verb or an adjective. Being stressed out, having stress, getting stressed, these types of things. Where stress is actually a noun, because what stress is a system that's wired into us as humans, right? It's part of who we are. It's wired into our brain. That when dealt with properly can save our life. I mean, if we're trekking out in Southeast Asia somewhere and we go down around the path, and when we come, there's a lion or a tiger down about 100 yards down the path that looks up at us like we're going to be dinner.
Yeah.
That's when our positive stress system kicks in. That's when we decide whether it's going to be fight, flight, or freeze. So what happens with people, I'll explain this quite quickly. What happens with people in the modern era, when you're not in some Southeast Asian country or in Africa, wherever you are, you're staring down a lion or a tiger or some other deadly animal, what happens is that people in this day and age, with instant gratification the way it is, and everything has to be now, and everything's done. So that stress level goes up because people see getting stuck at the roundabout and being 10 minutes late, 20 minutes late for an important meeting. And the stress goes up, and then the stress goes up, and then the stress goes up. So it just stays up. They see everything as being at the same level as that tiger, that lion, staring you down from 100 yards, 100 meters down the path. And of course it's not. But what happens is that stress, because our perception is reality, as you know, you do. Yeah. So then when that stress level stays up, it never comes back down to its natural resting point.
Yeah.
And therein lies the problem.
So we all get heart attacks, we all get high blood pressure, and we all get.
And then what happens? As you mentioned,
these are the tablets for that.
Yeah.
That's today's tablets.
There's some of that too. But what happens is that I find a lot of attention brought on to people's stress seems to be focused on the symptoms and not the cause. And again, therein lies the difference. What I do is we examine the cause and we fix the cause. We educate toward the cause. We treat the cause, not the symptoms.
So like get divorced, that type of thing.
Well, sometimes,
I'm
yeah.
joking. I'm joking.
I don't have a recollection that I've ever counseled anybody to do that in the years I've been doing this, but I know that a few of my clients over the years have come back to me and said that they've ended their relationship based on the information that they've been able to glean in their own self-awareness now of who they are and
Yeah,
what they're doing.
yeah. No, I was looking at your website.
You were.
I was.
And
I've,
you're still talking to me.
I've actually registered
Yep.
for your
Bless you,
newsletter.
Stephen. Bless you.
What I was looking at is, well, I think first of all, I think you've got a great name, the Stress Master.
I appreciate that.
That's great. That says everything. You know, just out of curiosity, I noticed that you've got specific industries that you've itemized. So the stress in the construction industry, stressed out teacher, stressed out GP. I'm just wondering, do they suffer a different type of stress to normal human beings like accountants?
Well, there are certain sectors you could say that their stress levels are off the charts.
Accountants.
I've had a couple of accountants over the years as clients, not for necessarily what they're doing in terms of their clientele, but just in terms of, I guess, what they're doing in their life. But there are certain sectors. So the construction sector, as you mentioned, yes. Look, when the phone rings or the text, the email goes off,
Yeah.
I'm going to take the call. I'm not going to say no to anybody once I've got my calendar and my schedule fitted in.
Yeah.
But I am looking at three specific sectors, which I do have mentioned on my website. The construction sector. This construction sector has the highest suicide rate of any sector in the country.
Wow, you do surprise me.
Actually, about the last stat I saw, it was about 3.7 times. So call it four times higher than average.
I actually thought that was the professions. So construction workers, they suffer that much stress.
Yep. And this isn't just the men and the women, down in the hole in the side of the road, or on the ground in the construction site. These are people all up and down the ladder in the sector. Project managers, site inspectors, quantity surveyors, subcontractors, everybody all up and down the line.
Yeah. Wow.
In terms of the health and medical professionals, there are a huge number of GPs and consultants in this country, here in the UK, who are, whose, again, their stress is just, off the charts. And in terms of the education sector, find me a teacher or a teaching assistant or a headmaster who doesn't have elevated levels of stress.
Yeah.
I challenge you.
Yeah. No, you know your markets. You know who you're dealing with. I mean, we deal with quite a lot of people in the construction industries. So all I'll say to you guys out there, listen. I mean, I've always found most of you a bit nutty anyway, but if you're suffering from stress, it's time to do something about it. Because stress can often manifest in many different ways. You don't even know you're suffering from stress sometimes. I mean, just because you put your fist through that door doesn't mean it's stress. It's,
well,
but
let me address that for a minute. I'll just to give you and the listeners and then the viewers some quick information. So, as human beings, there's only three things we do: we think, we feel, and we behave, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now, behavior can be subdivided into actions and reactions. However, there are three fingers on this hand now, and what do these three fingers stand for? Well, on planet Earth, there are people, places, and things. So it's how we think, feel, and behave in relation to people, places, and things that dictate the quality of our life, that dictate the level of our stress.
It's all very strong food for thought. So I mean, stress. It's no laughing matter, but can it be? Have you had any fun with some of your clients?
We have some fun maybe at the end when things are. There are usually some nodding heads and some smiles and maybe a few giggles from time to time, depending on how people are taking the information and what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
Usually there's, oh yeah, you got me. and
Yeah.
they kind of giggle or laugh a little bit. You must be, reading my biography, Ches. I mean, you must be, following me around in my
Yeah.
life. You seem
Yeah.
to have, well, it's because as I say, it's just knowing about how humans,
Yeah.
the human dynamic, and that's what those people years ago were talking about when they told me that I understood what was happening.
Well, you see, with you, I was going to ask you a question, but you might find difficult with you being in the psychology business and Canadian. But can you think of a funny story?
Not off the top of not off the top of my
See, I knew
head.
it. I knew it. Now, if you're English, be like, oh,
Not off the top of my head, I can't. The only thing I remember, one fellow came in. This is here since I've been in the UK, and one of the issues that I'll tell you a funny story.
there we go. We've
Have
got one.
we got about 6 or 7 minutes? I can tell
For
this.
you, we've got 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, okay, well, no, I appreciate this, Stephen.
Yeah.
So a lady came to me. I knew her husband in the community where I started my journey down in the Brentwood area in Essex when I first came to the UK
Okay.
back in 2011. I'm up in the Sheffield City region now. I've been here for a few years. I knew this gentleman in the community. He sent his wife to me. His wife came in, among other things. So they had 6 children between them, and every couple of years they had another child. So there was like steps, if you see what I mean. And the oldest one, I think the boy was at the time was about 15 or 16. The youngest one, she was just starting school. She was about 5 or 6 years old. So the mother came in and she told me, she said, I'm stressed out. If you could help me get it down to, she said, if I could just get it down to chaos, like that would be great, And I thought, ooh, that's difficult. This could be difficult.
Yeah.
So in speaking with her, I found out that she's a stay-at-home mom, so she has the important work.
Yeah.
And the husband, the father, he provided for the family. They were doing quite all right for themselves. So she described to me what happened when they all descended on the house in the afternoon, about 3:30, 3:45 in the afternoon, and just pandemonium. The two fellows were over there juggling back and forth, fighting each other for the remote for the play game station thing, whatever, the video station thing, and all the rest of it. The little girl tugging on her dress, mommy, feed me, I'm hungry, and all the rest of it. So I told her, look, I said, here's what you want to do. And here's a little bit of the fun that comes in. So I said, here's what I want you to do. I said, you good with a computer? She said, yeah. I said, all right, well, go home and get on your browser and go to Google Images and type in Swiss cheese. And you're going to see, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of images of Swiss cheese come up. So scroll through for a couple of minutes until you see one that resonates with you, print it off and put it up on the top of your fridge door. And she kind of leaned in at me with this kind of look, she's like, when we're paying you how much? And because this is not what she was expecting.
Well, it's
And
full holes.
I leaned in and I said, well, I know what you're thinking, but I said, just do this. So she said, why? And I explained to her, I said, well, here's what I want you to do. When everything around you is just going mad, I said, just use it as a reminder and just transform yourself into a giant piece of, just go, Swiss cheese. Just transform yourself into a giant piece of Swiss cheese. And she leaned in a little bit farther again, like, with this, well, we're paying you how much? And I said, here's why. I said, look, Swiss cheese has all these holes in it, right? She said, yeah. I said, well, just imagine, like, just this imagery, just this visualization. All the stress is just going through you and out the other side. You don't have to hold it.
Yeah.
So she did that. She went home and discussed it with her husband. I found out, when she came back a couple weeks later. And he said, well, the money's in the bank, so we might as well do what he says. Anyways, so said, so done. And when the children came home the next day and they saw the picture of the Swiss cheese, she told them, well, a friend of mommy and daddy's, told me to do this so I could, and she explained what she was going to do because they're driving her mad. And of course, she said, I said, what happened then? She said, well, they were all on the floor. Every last one of them was on the floor. They were just killing themselves with laughter, Ches. And when their father came home, they all ran out in the driveway. Mummy's mad. Mummy's mad. We had a good laugh over it. We did. But safe to say, over the course of a few weeks, a couple of months, it worked. And
Yeah.
some weeks later, I actually got a call back a couple of months later from the husband, and he thanked me. He said that the whole dynamic in the family had changed.
Changed. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
all for a picture of a piece of Swiss cheese on the fridge door.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny looks. I mean, when you're saying that mummy's mad, my partner often says that there's something wrong with me. Seriously, she says there's something wrong with you, and I say, oh, just the one thing. That's good. That's simple. But
Well,
I did resonate with the holes, with everything leaking out, with the Swiss cheese. But I always find that you get to a certain age and things leak out anyway. That's sort of funny.
well, the famous, as it turns out, the
Yeah.
famous Canadian singer-songwriter Bruce Cockburn, in one of his songs back in the 70s or the 80s, his lyric was the trouble with normal is it only gets worse.
Yes. No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Could you sing it for us?
No, I couldn't.
No. Okay. Oh, I won't either. But yeah, no. Well, we deal with a lot of small businesses all over the country. And are there anything in particular you could help small businesses with? Well, any advice? Because it is even without problems at home, without problems in health, without problems in family, there's still generally non-stop stress for people in business. Is there any single thing that you could sort of paint for them that any advice you could give them? Don't worry if there isn't, because they won't listen anyway.
Oh, no,
But
no, oh, no. There's plenty of advice, but the here's the thing. I
yeah,
understand what you say, but I go out of my way not to give my clients advice.
yeah, ah,
What I do is I explain them to themselves, and I just explain the tools that they already have,
mm,
that will work for them once they know what they are and how to use them. But
yeah,
what I said earlier is probably the best answer. Two things I said earlier is probably the best answer to that question. Number one, figure out what you can control and what you can't.
mm,
And what you can't control, then learn to let it go. And I can
yeah,
help you do that as well. Learn how to let that go so it doesn't create sometimes learning to let go creates more stress than they originally had. So again, there's ways to get that done
yeah,
uh, that will not make that happen.
yeah,
But figure out what you can control, what you can't. Self-awareness
mm,
comes from knowing that there are only three things you do: you think, feel, and behave in relation to people, places, and things.
mm. It's interesting. So it really is a journey, this.
It is.
And I suppose at the beginning of the journey, maybe you're looking to find out, help your, do you call them a patient or a client, or um, but it's helping your client to find out what the trigger is for that stress. Because sometimes you don't even know that there's a stress factor there. So
Well, I find that out in the first meeting. Within the first
yeah,
30, 45 minutes, I'm going to find that out through my consultation
yeah.
process.
And
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
beauty about talking to people like you is that people don't even realize that they're telling you this type of stuff. You're absorbing it from them, aren't you? So you're doing it to me now. Oh, good. Uh, but I'd like to thank you very much, Ches, for joining us, and I'd like to encourage everybody watching this, and I'm going to circulate this to clients all over the place, to do consider what Ches has said, and Ches's contact details are going to appear on the screen here. But please do. Send him an email, send him all your problems, tell him everything, just inundate him with
You do
everything.
that. You do that.
Yeah.
What I might do to help answer that last question, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit more succinctly. Look, this is my second book.
Ah,
I finished it. This book got finished at the end of March. I
ah,
haven't published it yet. You can't buy it online.
mhm.
However, you can go to my website and download it for free.
That's brilliant. So the website's appearing. I've already applied for this book. I think it'd be great reading, and don't think you can underestimate how stress can affect your life. So, contact Ches direct or contact him through me, and hopefully we'll make you better and make your business bigger and stronger then everything, all your wishes come true. But thank you, Ches. Thank you for joining us. It's been eye-opening for me. And thank you, everybody, for joining me today. And I'll see you on the next episode of Between the Spreadsheets. By the way, don't forget to come and enroll in our coaching group. It's all, I won't say it's free, it's just paid for by me, so it won't cost you anything. But come and join our networking group and coaching group, and let's help push your business to the next level. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, Stephen.